I see the born of no return. It's just ahead now, can't you see we're rushing for the end? I see the point of no return. Now I see the point of no return. It's just ahead.
Well, good evening, everybody. It's happened again. Yeah, sure enough, it's Monday. I hope your Monday was somewhat better than mine was. Mondays come and, you got to get back into the grind. You got to get back to work. You had a nice weekend. You're all relaxed and everything. And then what happens to spoil it? Yeah, Monday. But yeah, it's Monday, June 23rd. June is almost gone. June 23rd of 2014. My name is Gary Hendershot. You're listening to the Monday edition of Wide Awake News on the Rents Radio Network, and I'm glad you decided to tune in while I do some barking at the moon, as if anybody out there was really listening. I'll tell you, we got kind of a rowdy group in the chat room tonight. The chat room over at smartscarecrow.com is kind of, they're kind of laid back. They're chilling. I think most of them must be from Colorado. But boy, the Wide Awake News chat room, they're you gotta trash the Russians and you gotta trash the Chinese. No, I'm not gonna trash the Russians and the Chinese tonight. Come on, give me a break. No, tonight we're gonna trash the Polacks. Yeah. How many Polacks does it take to screw in a light bulb? Come on, you guys got the joke, didn't you? You did hear the latest revelation coming out of Eastern Europe. I mean, some of this stuff, if it wasn't real, you would think it was part of a Saturday Night Live skit. But this is how it comes out. This is coming from RT. Okay, the Polish foreign minister believes his country's alliance with the U.S. is worth nothing and compared his government's stance to giving oral sex and receiving nothing in return, a Polish magazine said, citing a leaked recording of a private conversation. Here in the U.S., we think only the NSA is listening to everything going on. Only the NSA is, monitoring all your telephone calls and all your emails and all that. But obviously, we don't have a monopoly on sleuthing, because it appears that a private conversation between a fellow named Sikorsky and an MP who was, I guess, a foreign finance minister named Rostowski, Rostowski. Apparently these guys were talking about, what are they going to do if they piss off the Germans and they piss off the Russians? That's okay. The USA is our buddy and they'll come save us, right? And that's when this fellow Sikorsky comes up and says, complete bullshit. We will get a conflict with both Russians and Germans, and we're going to think that everything is great because we gave the Americans a insert oral sexual activity here. Suckers, total suckers. Like I say, if it hadn't been reported on Russia Today, it has some air of reality. It sounds like, okay, this might be something these guys are actually talking about, but you would think something like that would only come out of a Saturday Night Live skit, wouldn't you? Wouldn't you? Come on, you really, I mean, politicians and big shots within governments, they don't really talk like that. I mean, they're, upper, they have perfect diction and they say everything in perfect, and And they're just so far above us, they never get down into the, yeah, right. Oh, boy. So what else is in the news? You know, the one where, mission was accomplished about I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years ago, when Bush the Lesser was in power. Iraq continues to spiral out of control. The Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant. The Levant. You know what the Levant is? That's what they refer to as the area that includes Jordan, Iraq, Lebanon, Syria is included in that. These guys, the Levant is kind of it's their word for the old caliphate from the 1600s. That apparently is what they're trying to reestablish, or that's their goal anyway. But they're referred to, depending on how which news source, either ISIS or ISIL. They're the same guys. Basically, these are the guys that the Obama administration was arming to go fight Assad in Syria. Because, we got this bone to pick with Syria. Lord only knows why, but, because Syria's basically been pretty quiet, pretty stable nation in that part of the world, all things considered. But Israel don't like them, so, I think they kind of put the bug in Obama's ear, hey, why don't you go kick Assad's ass, and yes, sir, Mr. Israel, yes, sir, we'll do anything you want, Mr. Israel. And so we've been playing around a lot in Syria, and we thought we had these guys who were all ready to do our bidding. All we had to do was somehow get these weapons that we had stockpiled over in Libya, get those into the hands of these boys, get them over there into the fracas, and they'd take care of Assad for us. Well, we had this issue with Benghazi and a lot of other issues that, kind of clouded and confused the whole deal. But, basically they were kind of doing the job, sort of, until they actually ran up against some opposition. And they decided, hey, this taking on Assad in Syria, this is a little bit too much like work, man. I mean, there's quite a few of us with buckshot in our behinds. There's kind of a soft area of Iraq right across the border over here. Why don't we just go kick their ass instead? Well, the problem is Iraq is our buddies. So here, our buddies who we armed to go fight the bad guy, Assad, now turn around and take the weapons that we gave them and they're pointing them at us. Well, that wasn't the deal, guys. Now, and here we got, the Saudis financing them. I understand that, basic foot soldiers in ISIS are getting about a $700 a month stipend from the Saudis. And, obviously, the Saudis are doing this on behalf of U.S. interests and Israeli interests. I mean, they generally don't do anything like that on their own. So, you have to assume that the money financing these guys is coming from some of our other buddies. So what is the deal here? Well, I've got my theory on it. Now, I am not the sharpest tool in the shed, and I don't pretend to be an expert on Iraq or the Middle East, or frankly, I'm not an expert on much anything. But I do happen to remember a lot of talk was going around back during Gulf War II, the one that was done under Bush the Lesser, not Gulf War I, the one, that was done under Bush Sr. But during Gulf War II, there was a lot of speculation that, part of the deal with going in and kicking Iraq's ass was to help out the Kurds up in the northern part of Iraq, because they've kind of been denied a homeland for a long time. They claim pieces of Turkey and pieces of Iraq, and they claim that used to be their homeland a long time ago. But during the repartitioning of the Middle East that happened after World War I, they wound up holding the bag. Apparently, they were on the wrong side during that fracas. Who knows? But they kind of got shortchanged, and they've been wanting a homeland for a long time. And there was a lot of speculation back after Gulf War II that part of the deal would be the partitioning of Iraq so that the Kurds could have their own homeland, a reinstituted Kurdistan. And under this little fracas that's going on right now, where this ISIS or ISIL or whatever you want to call them, basically, the Jihadi of the Week club, one of the interesting things that's come out of that is that the Kurds in the north seem to be the only stalwart fighting force who's given these boys a run for the money. So far, it appears that the Iraqi military, the government forces, they just keep pulling back and pulling back. They keep referring to it as strategic withdrawals. Nobody's really sure just why. As a matter of fact, they've even withdrawn out of some areas that would normally be considered strongholds of theirs and allowed ISIS or ISIL, however you want to call them, to just kind of move into a vacuum. But the Kurds have stood fast. So, looking at it from 50,000 feet, the objective observer who knows absolutely nothing for certain, looks to me like what we're getting ready to do here is we're getting ready to kind of divvy up the spoils of war. I kind of think maybe Iraq is about to be partitioned, and I wouldn't be a bit surprised if Syria isn't involved in the partitioning as well, if we can just get the darn U.S. people off their butts and get them motivated for another really good rock'em sock'em war where we finally get this guy Assad taken care of. Then ISIS or ISIL, whoever the heck they are, they can have their little caliphate or whatever the heck they want to call it, where they can impose their Sharia law. The Kurds can get their piece of the action like they were promised back when they helped U.S. interests take out Saddam, and everybody's happy, right? Except the Shiites. Well, maybe we'll give them a little chunk down the south. We'll decide that later. But I'm sure the Shiites will come out with something. We're not going to. Well, then again, if we don't give the Shiites anything, that gives us a good excuse to have another war in that area a generation from now. Because everybody will forget within a generation. All you got to do is wait 20 years. The young ones coming up, they won't know. They won't be able to find Iraq on a map. And if you say, "Oh, the poor Shiites, they got screwed during this. The Sunnis are doing this and the Kurds are doing that. Oh, we got to go help out the poor." And 20 years from now, we can have another war in Iraq, and it just never ends. Do you buy into the global warming thing? I mean, I know people on both sides of this. I know some people who are just absolutely convinced that human beings, especially you yuppies out there driving around in them gas-guzzling SUVs, that human beings are having an impact on global climate through the burning of what everybody seems to keep referring to as fossil fuels, although I find the term objectionable. But, there are a lot of people out there. You get 10 people together in a room, you're going to find, there's kind of a split on it. There's a lot of people who honestly believe that human activity is directly related to climate change. And here again, I'm not going to refer to it as global warming either, because in fact, best I can tell, looking at the real statistics, the Earth has been cooling off since the 1930s. The 1930s was the hottest decade on record, and ever since that time, we've actually kind of been cooling off. I mean, it goes up and down and up and down. It kind of goes up and down with the solar cycles. No, you see, you can't say that. You can't blame the sun unless we can figure out a way to tax it. Or maybe if I could write a book about it and publish and get some funding for my next paper. But yeah, if we blame climate change on solar activity, well, how do you get anybody to ante up a tax for something the sun did? No. We've got to personalize it. We've got to make you personally responsible because you didn't turn out your lights before you went to bed that night, and they had to burn an extra 10 pounds of coal to keep your lights burning. And like I said, you darn yuppies driving around those SUVs, burning up all that gasoline, putting all that there CO2 into the air. Do you know water vapor in the atmosphere is a more significant greenhouse gas than CO2? But we don't want to go there because we can't blame water in the atmosphere on human beings. No, if we get it down to CO2, and we don't want to talk about the fact that plant life on the earth, we don't want to discuss the fact that plant life depends on CO2. And if you wanted to build a coal-fired plant to generate electricity, all you'd really have to do to offset the CO2 emitted by that plant is just, plant some trees. The trees will, but we don't want to talk about that. What we really need here is we need a scare tactic to get you to go deeper, yet deeper, into your wallet and become even more of a source of revenue. Now, whether you buy in to the humans are the cause of global climate change or not, you should be interested in this next article. The Environmental Protection Agency, an agency of questionable repute, went before the Supreme Court arguing that the Clean Air Act gives them the authority to regulate how much CO2 can be put into the environment. Now, the EPA went before the court arguing that they ought to be able to get right down to you and how much CO2 you put into the atmosphere. The Supreme Court didn't go along with that, but the Supreme Court did give the EPA most of what they were asking for, including confirmation, legal authority to regulate the amount of what is loosely referred to as greenhouse gases emitted by major stationary operations where they had some statutory authority previously. The EPA really wanted to expand their authority right down to you. They wanted to be able to tax the CO2 coming off of your wood stove. Okay? In the wintertime, a lot of people like to use it. First of all, a wood stove is kind of charming. It has its own charm. They're very efficient. They're very cheap to run. But, they do emit some CO2. EPA wanted to be able to regulate you and your wood stove the same as they would the Con Edison electric plant 50 miles up the road from you that burns train car loads full of coal a day. Well, they kept their right to regulate the coal-fired electric generating plants. The Supreme Court came down on your side when it comes to your ability to do your wood stove. So what the EPA will have to do now is they will have to tax the manufacturer of the wood stove, who will, of course, add it to the price of the wood stove, so they'll get their money that way. It's kind of like, taxing you per mile when you drive your car. Now, you say, wait a minute now. I already pay taxes on my tires. I already pay taxes on my gasoline. I already pay all these other taxes. Now you're telling me you're going to put an odometer in my car like they got in a taxi cab, and you're going to tax me for every mile I drive? No. Come on. Let's not even go there. Oh, but gee, we're starting to get more and more of them there electric cars on the road. And them electric cars, why, they is scofflaws. They're getting away without paying that darn tax. So, all you guys out there driving those V8 powered gasoline cars, you're being taxed out to wazoo through your gasoline. But those guys driving them hybrids and driving them electric cars, they ain't paying their fair share. So see, if we tax by the mile, that way we'll get those SOBs that are driving those electric cars and those hybrids. See, it's fair. It's fair. Yeah, we're level playing field. Everybody pull their weight and we get more revenue. Like I say, some of this stuff, if it wasn't real, you would think it was part of a script right out of Saturday Night Live. If I timed that right, I should be hearing the music. I don't know. My iPad must be off by a second or two. But, could have sworn I was going to hear them. I thought I timed that just right for the break. I'm not sure I want to get into my next piece here because, doggone it, I need at least a couple minutes on that. I'm hearing the music now. I'm going to have to take off for just a couple minutes while the studio sells some goods. I will be back right after these important commercial announcements. Listening to the bumper music. I guess we're back. Kept expecting a bumper. I could get a little shorter bumper on that segment. So yeah, talking about the EPA. One thing I would really like the EPA to do is, put all those radiation monitoring stations back up that they, for the longest time, the EPA used to monitor environmental radiation. But after Fukushima, they packed all that gear away. It's probably sitting in a government warehouse somewhere. But, see, the problem is they could not figure out a good excuse to come and tax you for the, cesium-137 that came over from Fukushima. And, there was no percentage in that. But, man, I tell you, they're just hell-bent on finding a way to tax you based on carbon dioxide. A lot of people have been saying for a number of years that will be, at some point, the common currency in the future will be a carbon credit. I'm not sure if that's, like a lump of coal or what. I'm not sure what that's going to look like. Hopefully not in my lifetime. Hopefully not in my children's lifetime. Keep fighting against that. Keep fighting against it. Interesting article in the Telegraph. That's Telegraph, by the way, is a publication out of the United Kingdom, for those of you who don't know. It's kind of related. Articles titled The Scandal of Fiddled Global Warming Data. And this is by a fellow named Booker, Christopher Booker. Came out a couple days ago. I'm going to read you just a little bit of this. Let's see what you think. When future generations try to understand how the world got carried away around the end of the 20th century by the panic over global warming, few things will amaze them more than the part played in the stoking up of the more than the part played in stoking up the scare by the fiddling of official temperature data. Basically what this guy's going into is the way the numbers have been moused. You remember when Al Gore did that presentation? He had that hockey stick effect. Remember that? He made a big hockey stick. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, what they've been doing is they used to put temperature monitoring stations all across the country here, and the United States used to be the single biggest source of data because the United States had a pretty good apparatus set up to measure average temperatures across the United States. Now, if it called NOAA, used to be in charge of doing that. But, times got hard and budgets got cut. And I said, well, gee, we have these weather monitoring stations out in the middle of nowhere. It costs us a lot of money to keep that stuff up. We got to send a guy out there to lubricate the little gizmos every once in a while and change the batteries. It's costing us a fortune. So as a budget cut, budget cutting type thing, what we're going to do is we're only going to have our temperature monitoring stations in urban areas where they're a little bit easier to get at. And the fact that a lot of them are set up, right, where big buildings exhaust their air conditioning, it's no big deal. Overall averages will be about the same. So, the fact of the matter is the monitoring of temperatures across the surface of the United States got really flaky about 20 years ago. No longer was it a broad random average. It was now based on urban areas where temperatures generally are just a little bit higher. And the placement of some of the monitoring equipment is at best questionable if you are really trying to do accurate weather measurement. Well, they went one step further than that. They looked back at all the old data before they had changed the positioning of their equipment, and they said, well, to get the old data more in sync with the new data, we got to run that through a computer algorithm too, because we want to make sure we're being fair and reasonable. Well, that had the effect of lowering the temperatures that were measured over the last 150 years in the United States, while increasing the temperatures measured over the last couple of decades. Hence, your hockey stick. Okay? That's how it happened. And this guy, Booker, short little article in the Telegraph, does a pretty nice job of explaining that. It's only about 4 or 5 paragraphs. There will be a link to it at smartscarecrow.com. Find the blog entry for June 23rd, 2014. You'll find the link. You can read the article. It's a very quick read. Shouldn't take you more than about 10 minutes. It is an interesting little summary on how it went down. Water. Think about it now. As a human being alive on the surface of the earth, are you entitled to air? Are you entitled to breathe? If someone came along and told you they were going to put a meter on your face and charge you half a penny for every time you inhale and exhale, would you consider that fair and reasonable? Or would you consider the right to breathe to be kind of a basic human right? Let me see. Life. You have a right to life. You have a right to liberty. You have a right to the pursuit of happiness. Nobody guarantees you happiness, but you have a right to pursue happiness as you see fit. Now, those are kind of, basic human rights that here in the United States we hold dear. We hold those rights so dear that we incorporated them into some of our most sacred documents. Well, for a human being to live, a human being must consume water. It's basic. You can go a week probably, maybe more, without food. Try going more than 3 or 4 days without water. Water should be a basic human right. But it costs money to get water from where it is to where folks need it. So if you're the city of Detroit, you probably think it's perfectly reasonable for you to charge people for moving the water from where it was, cleaning it up a little bit, making it safe to drink, and then running it down some pipes so that they can turn on a spigot and have it delivered to them. And I think most reasonable people would probably agree that the act of delivering that water is worth a fee. Well, it's come out that half of the people in Detroit cannot afford to pay their water bill. Some say they could afford it, and frankly, if we turn off the water, all of a sudden they're down at the water authority with checkbook in hand, and they're ready to bring their bill up to date. But a lot of them really and truly cannot afford to pay that water bill. A lot of them don't pay it, they say, because they know nobody's going to really shut off my water. Come on, I can go, 6 months without paying that water bill. Nobody's really going to shut it off. Well, Detroit's starting to shut off water. And it's gotten bad enough that the water authority is asking for help from the United Nations. All right, I'm hearing the music again. I got to slide out of here for a few minutes. Be back after these important commercial announcements. And we're back from that blatantly commercial interruption to tonight's proceedings. Actually, I've still got quite a few articles here I'm going to try to get through in the next 10 minutes or so. Interesting thing, though, about Detroit. We've got plenty of money to buy, fighter jets that can't fly in inclement weather and can't land on an aircraft carrier, and plenty of money to go bombing people over. We got plenty of money to help ISIS kick Syria's butt, and we got plenty of money to do all these grand and glorious things. But basic infrastructure needs of the nation: roads, highways, rail, water infrastructure, sewage infrastructure. Just doesn't seem to be any money for that. With all the money you pay in taxes, you can't seem to fix the potholes that would swallow a Volkswagen. Oh, well. It's not that I haven't tried recently. It's just, all the interesting news on Obamacare has just been rehash of the same old stuff. But, it has been a little while since I had an article related to one of my favorite topics: how much I love Obamacare. Oh, thank you, Obama, for giving me Obamacare. I'm just so thrilled. But I did read an interesting article over at thedailysheeple.com. Now, I know some of you out there are going to go, oh, come on, Gary. Come on, you're really digging the bottom of the barrel. Hey, sometimes those guys come up with a good article, and I kind of liked this one. Even without the implementation of Obamacare, the American healthcare system has been on the decline for several years. And as with most government-managed systems, which include both education and the Veterans Administration, the cost of America's health care is the highest costing in the developed world, while being the worst for treatment and care. Now, that's a pretty darn serious indictment of the U.S. healthcare system. I mean, a lot of people out there, swear by U.S. medicine. They just, the doctor is like next to God. When they go into the doctor and the doctor says, hey, your blood pressure is high. You need this pill. Yes, sir, Mr. Doctor. Yes, sir. They take that pill and they go back, a couple months later and you say, oh, that blood pressure medication, it's making you need this here blue pill. Oh, yes, sir, doctor. I'll take that there blue pill. And it comes back, well, that there blue pill, that seems to be giving you a little bit of an arrhythmia in your heart. So here, you better have this. And by the time they're done, they're popping about 15, 20 pills every day. Think, oh, that doctor, if not for that doctor, I'm not sure I'd still be alive. It's all these pills here keeping me alive. And they believe it, okay? They really believe that the current medical doctor, the allopathic medicine that most Americans subscribe to, they honestly think that's the best there is anywhere in the world. And yet we hear rumors that right across the border in Mexico, there's something called a Gersten clinic that's doing some marvelous, marvelous work with some of the nastiest diseases and sending people home with real cures, not just managed symptoms, but cures for debilitating diseases. And what is it based on? It's based on chelation therapy. It's based on good diet. It's based on basics. Basics. Eat well, exercise, get the poisons out of your system. That seems to be the basics of how they're having such success. Here in the United States, you go to the doctor, what they want to do is they want to give you a pill that hides the symptom. Oftentimes, that pill causes some other symptom to manifest for which you need yet another, and it's a vicious circle. They're not offering cures, they're offering managed symptoms. And for that privilege, we pay some of the highest costs for medical care in the world. Needless to say, another interesting article. It's not a real long article. It probably take you about 10 minutes to read the entire thing. He gives some facts and some statistics, that you can consider. And as always, make up your own damn mind. Don't believe me. Make up your own damn mind. We've been going on and on and on and on and on about what a lot of people call immigration reform. Invasion! Immigration reform. Invasion! And, we've talked about, how the latest trend, and it's just come up, in the last 60 days or so, it's been kind of big news of these unaccompanied minors who, seem to have a script. They come over the border, no parental supervision. Many of them don't have any IDs, and we don't know who the heck they are. Oh, I'm afraid of gang violence, and I need a place to go where I won't be involved in all that drug dealing and gang violence. They got a script, and they all got the same script. Okay, and we've heard rumors about advertisements on television, and the word of mouth going around. Hey, the USA has opened its borders. Send your kids to the USA. Once they get in and get established, they can bring you, all your cousins, all your nephews, a whole darn family over. So get your kids over in the USA. Then we hear rumors that border guards on the border states are being instructed to, as they come in, put them on buses and disperse them throughout the country. Few noted exceptions. We got little clusters here, little clusters here. We had one group that was supposed to be shipped into Central Virginia, and I think the people in that town went down to the courthouse with pitchforks and torches, and I think they managed to move those kids somewhere else. So this has been going on. This is real. This is happening right now. We are being flooded with immigrants, many of them unaccompanied minors coming across the border without a penny in their pocket, no ID, no nothing. Just get across the border. The Americans will take care of you. Everything's going to be fine. Just get across the border. A lot of them, once they get here from Honduras and Guatemala and all these Central American countries, they were happy to be in the United States. They were thrilled to death to be out of Mexico. Getting through Mexico was a tough part. Those darn Mexicans, they're serious about their border. Well, another interesting piece to this puzzle's come out. And here again, this is an article from the Daily Sheeple. And once again, you're going to have to consider and make up your own damn mind. Certainly, do not take my word for it. But they're putting forward the argument that the Department of Homeland Security, those great guys that were going to save us from the bearded fellas with satellite phones and laptops living in a cave in Tora Bora, they were going to save us from them blowing up our football games. The guys, right? Department of Homeland Security solicited bids from vendors to handle up to 65,000 unaccompanied minors in January. It's a little convenient, isn't it? It's a little convenient, wouldn't you say? What do you think about that? So clear back in January, long before even the alternative media started yammering about, this flood of immigrants, particularly these unaccompanied minors, the DHS was putting out for bids for some company to handle 65,000 unaccompanied minors. Isn't that interesting? You'd almost think that it was planned, that it was some kind of conspiracy. Oh, my goodness, I better get my tinfoil hat on. I'm sounding like a, conspiracy theorist. But here's some of the facts they lay out in this article. On January 29th of this year, the federal government posted an advertisement seeking bids for a vendor contract to handle unaccompanied alien children. And I don't think these are those little gray anal probing alien guys. I think these are the ones from Central America. Not just any contract, mind you, but a very specific contract for a very specific number of unaccompanied minors, 65,000. Why would DHS and ICE be claiming surprise by the current influx of unaccompanied minors on the border in June when they were taking bids for an exact contract to handle the exact situation in January? Read the article. Consider the facts and statistics put forward. Make up your own damn mind. But yeah, in January, they're looking for a vendor to take care of 65,000 unaccompanied alien minors. And it didn't even really start happening until, late April, May, June. That's when it really started. So it's like I tell you, these guys who work for Homeland Security, they are so good. They must have had some mediums looking in the crystal ball saying, we think maybe it might be a good idea, because we see off in the distant future that you might need, you might want to have a vent. That's how it happened. That's their story, and they're sticking to it. And if you believe that, I've got a bridge that needs repair just outside of Oakland that you might want to take a look at. Good price on it. Well, tonight's the night. Tonight is the night. Yeah. Matter of fact, you're probably missing it right now. But don't change the channel yet. Daryl Issa. Yeah, Daryl Issa tonight is going to have serious questions for the IRS commissioner. You remember that guy, well, we don't know. We think the hard drive died. We're not really sure what happened to that hard drive, but I'm sure it was disposed in accordance with, we don't know what happened to those emails. About 4 years email. Oh, those other 10 people you want emails? Well, their hard drives failed too. Then it comes out that there's an outfit that was backing it up. But no, they canceled that contract right after the hard drives failed. Yeah. I'm hearing the music. I got to blow out of here. But once again, sounds like a skit off of Saturday Night Live. Hey, thank you so much for listening to me rant and rave. I hope you had a good time. I hope I sent you out of here with a laugh. But we'll be back next week to do some more barking at the moon. Y'all take care now. Good night.
Calling out to you. turn, won't you turn around? Oh, the point of no return is just ahead now, head now. Can't you see? Oh, the point of no return is just ahead, just ahead. Can't you see it's just ahead?
All right, guys. I know I miss it. There was one more postscript to that IRS story that I really wanted to get to. You know, ICE is going to grill the chairman of the IRS or whatever the heck he is. That's cool. You know, I somehow I think they're going to be throwing marshmallows at this guy because, you know, I mean, they will have a photo op and it'll look good on TV, but nobody's ever going to get. One thing I can guarantee you is that nobody's going to get fired and nobody's going to go to jail. I mean, that you're pretty much assured of. You know, they may do a photo op, make it look good on TV, you know, so they'll have a good, you know, news bite or something, make you think they're getting something done. But no, nothing's going to change. But, you know, the postscript to that story that I did not have time to get into that I think was really funny. This is hilarious. Apparently, Congressman Stockman. Let me see. Do I have a picture of Stockman? Yeah, here we go. This is Congressman Stockman. Under Stockman's bill, the Dog Ate My Tax Receipts Act, taxpayers who do not provide documents requested by the IRS can claim one of the following reasons and get away with it. Here we go. Here we go. Are you ready for this? These are the 10 reasons why you don't have to pay your taxes. Here you go. The dog ate my tax receipts. Yeah, perfectly reasonable. Convenient, unexplained, miscellaneous computer malfunction. Well, gee, you know, I had all my records on that in my computer, and aliens stole my hard drive. How about this? I traded the documents for 5 terrorists. Nobody's laughing over that one. Oh, well, you know, I guess I wouldn't. Oh, well, what can I say? They can't all be funny. How about this one? I burned all my tax documents for warmth while lost in the Yukon. That is a reasonable excuse that'll get you out of paying your taxes. Let's see here. Let's see. Left on table in Hillary's book room. Received water damage in the trunk of Ted Kennedy's car. Ted Kennedy's been dead for a while. I don't know why we're still picking on him. Forgot in gun case sold to Mexican drug lords. And like I said, you know, they can't all be funny. Now this one is funny. Now, you're going to like this one. Forced to recycle by municipal green czar. Yeah, Was short on toilet paper while camping. Was that funny? And of course, my all-time favorite. At this point, what difference does it make? That's the one I'm going to use. I like that one. Yeah. Now, if Congressman Stockman's bill passes, there's going to be a new block on your IRS form where you can just check one of those reasons why you're not. Let's see how far that one gets. Yeah, right. All right, guys. So what was in the news this past week? What hard-hitting item was in the news this week that I just flat missed? I mean, you know, I do the best I can, but I'm sure I missed a couple of really good ones. What was in the news that I missed? Anything? I'll give them a moment because, you know, there is a delay between the time I speak and the time they actually see it. And then, of course, I got to type an answer. You know, I mean, it's, gee, you know, this interactive TV ain't so interactive when you got to deal with the 8-second delay for the sensors. Actually, it's got to bounce off of 3 computers at the NSA before it gets to them anyway. What, did everybody in the audience fall asleep? I do have a a studio audience in the chat room that is monitoring this live. There's not a whole lot of people left in there tonight. They might all fallen asleep, or they might have all gone to the bathroom, or they might have all gone to get a beer. I'm not really sure. Chemtrails, well, nothing new's come down on chemtrails recently, and here again, I know for a fact that the phenomena that people refer to as chemtrails, I know for a fact it's real. I've seen them, okay? I have stood out in my backyard, and I have seen Jet A go flying past, and I'm right here in the center of the three major international airports. So I got Reagan National near me, I got Dulles near me, and I got Baltimore near me, and I'm right in the flight path for all of them. So I see a lot of jets fly over my house. And you can tell the ones that aren't spraying anything because, they go by and they got a streamer coming out of the back end of the jet that's, I don't know, for all I know, a mile, 5 miles long, I don't know. But it dissipates very quickly and disappears. And then you got the next one that goes by, and it's obviously spraying something because it hangs in the air, it spreads out, and it turns the sky gray. Instead of having a nice blue sky, you wind up with kind of a gray, nasty, overcast-looking sky. And I tell you the truth, I've been looking at them up there when I swear they've been playing tic-tac-toe, because I have actually seen them draw patterns in the sky. I've seen one come up and then one going parallel and then two coming across, and it looks to me like they're playing tic-tac-toe up there. Okay, so, I know that the phenomena being reported as chemtrails is real because I've seen it with my own eyes. Now, just what they're spraying and for what reason, that's open for debate. I've heard a lot of different arguments on that, and there's many people trying to sell books on the subject. Some people claim to have actually gone up there and chased planes and captured some of the stuff that's coming out of the back end of these jets and analyzed it, and they tell me that it's got this, that, and the other thing in it. Well, I don't know. I don't know the custody of evidence situation. I don't know how good the amateur science on this really is. So, am I going to stand on a soapbox and say that chemtrails is doing this or chemtrails is doing that? No. If an interesting article comes out where somebody who is reasonably knowledgeable makes such a claim, I'll report it as news. But to be honest with you, I really don't know what they're spraying or why. I've heard most of the theories, but I personally don't really know. I haven't made up my own damn mind on that one. I know the phenomena is real. I know they're doing something. Just really not sure what. More sprinkles. Donuts with sprinkles. Yeah. I am awake. Can't think of anything national news now that stands out in my mind. How counterpoint. Oh, you take me on, huh? Well, you'll find I'm kind of, I will argue most any position on any topic. So, I have very few hard and fast opinions on things. So it's one of those things where if you have a hard and fast opinion, I'm pretty good at playing devil's advocate, and I can argue the counterpoint, I'm not one to preach at people and tell them that I know more than they do, because chances are, there's somebody out there who knows more about just about anything than me. All I can really do is express my opinion. And my opinion and $5 gets you what? Yeah, a cup of coffee at that high-priced Juppie coffee joint. Any other interesting items in the news that I might have missed? I think I got all the hot ones. I didn't report on MH370 this time. There is a report out that the pilot is the prime suspect. Okay, well, they've been waving him at us for quite some time now. Somebody out here says they hate BJs. Well, don't go to Poland then, because apparently they think that's what all Americans want. Let's see. And they're not sure what they're getting for it either. Oh, boy. Well, I tell you guys, I do have to edit the recording. Hillary Clinton's colonoscopy. I don't want to know about Hillary Clinton's colonoscopy, man. That woman gives me the creeps. They found a brain tumor. Well, she's had the tremors for quite a while. I did hear a report she had some kind of a heart problem. If she wants the Democratic nomination, she's gonna get it because she's bought and paid for it. Okay, so if she really wants to be the Democratic candidate, she's gonna get it. Whether she's healthy enough to see it through or not, that's just the way it is. You're gonna start dumbscarecrow.com. The interesting thing is, I could really use somebody to help me spruce up scarecrow.com. So but in any case, it's time I shut down and get this thing edited and posted, guys. So, hey, y'all have a good week this week. I hope you do something productive, get some work done, and we'll see you next Monday. Good night, all.